Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 3rd of October, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar, just flat over the last 24 hours, but still holding on to its strength. So dollar strength still the key. And euro was sinking yesterday with the Italian woes, so still bearish below the cloud there on the euro as well. Against the yen, dollar looking a little bit stronger today, just holding on to its bullish position on all three time frames, and sterling teetering with this 130 level this morning. We're sitting really right around this level, so but we have been below there yesterday, obviously, and we've got a downside target of 126.60. Sterling against the euro also weakening slightly this morning. And against the Swiss franc, just holding its short-term bullish stance. Against the Aussie dollar, strengthening as well, so we are just seeing sterling recovering a bit there. Bitcoin pushing lower, sitting at 6,400, really just in the doldrums the last few months. Hard to imagine after the volatility that we've seen in Bitcoin, but really just struggling, and it's still bearish in all three time frames. You do have downside targets in the short term of around 1 and 2.5%. Taking a look at the US stock market, little changed yesterday, but still holding on to its bull position on the S&P 500. The same with the Nasdaq. The Dow actually pushing higher. It was up yesterday by 0.5%, but the Russell 2000 index is struggling. The futures this morning, the S&P futures up about 0.2%, and the Nasdaq E-mini up about 2% as well. UK market down this morning, was up slightly, but just really still struggling on that medium-term chart, and we'll take a look at some UK stocks in a minute. The FTSE 250 is up less strongly, but still bearish on that short and medium-term chart. The DAX also just bearish medium-term. The CAC Quarante still is holding on to its bullish position, so still looking the strongest of the European markets at the moment. And the Japanese market was down about 1% overnight. The Hang Seng was down very slightly, but still looking pretty bearish medium term. And the Chinese market was actually up nearly 1%. A lot of volatility in the Chinese market at the moment. So bullish short term, but the medium and long term picture still pretty bearish. The Indian market also just struggling, was down nearly 0.5%. Aussie market was up 1/3%. Brent crude this morning is holding near that $85 mark, so holding on to Monday's gains and still looking very, very strong on the charts. If we go higher, we activate a new upside target, some $89, $90, and we do have this upside target on Brent of $94, so it does look like Brent has the potential to go higher still. WTI, less clear targets on the short-term chart, but we do have targets of around 7% on both the long and medium-term charts. US nat gas, $3.17, pushing higher, making 9-month highs, so really looking very strong for the first time in a while. Be interesting to see whether we can actually break this 350 mark. We've got upside targets of 331 and 332, so US nat gas is finally on the move. Gold jumped back above $1,200 yesterday off the back of Italian woes, so that was worrying the markets enough to push gold higher. So short-term bullish, we've got target of 1214 as the short-term target. Silver also looking bullish on the short-term chart as well. US 10-year yield pushing higher as well, back at $3, 3.07%. And bond markets in Europe down this morning. The German bond just falling, yields up, bonds down. Taking a look at tech stocks, the majors, Apple, still looking bullish on all three time frames. Amazon fell back a little bit yesterday, but still holding on to its bullish position. Google also looking better than it has done for ages. Facebook, on the other hand, bearish in the short term, below the 160 mark, pushing lower. We've got targets to 150, 145, 114. So it does look like Facebook could really go lower. And we've got long-term targets back to near $100, 105 and 108. So it's a pretty bearish picture emerging for Facebook. Microsoft holding on to the 115 level, down slightly yesterday. And Tesla was also just falling back from that rise that we saw on Monday and Tuesday, which just fell back a few percent. Taking a look at some of the other Dow constituents, just on performance, yesterday we saw Intel were a strong performer, up some 3.5%. Celgene as well. Mercado Libre were probably the strongest performer, up 6% in the Nasdaq 100. So really quite interesting there. Looking at the worst performers in the Nasdaq, we saw NetEase down 5%, and Tesla there showing through at that 3% down. And American Airlines fell pretty heavily across the board yesterday, so looking weaker there. Taking a look at the FTSE 100, we see this morning the best performers: Randgold Resources. Banks bouncing back a little bit. They had a pretty bad day yesterday, so we're seeing quite a lot of movement there. That was really on Italian, whereas financials were hit, but looking stronger this morning. And looking at the worst performers, Tesco out with results this morning, but falling some 4%. So still bearish on that medium-term chart. Quite interesting there. WPP down some 1.6%, bearish on the charts there as well. And last of all, just a quick look at Aston Martin, debuted at $19 this morning, just falling down, so quite heavily lower there this morning, just not holding on to that $19 mark. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.